Washington is owned by the special interests and the big corporations. Somebody ought to call them on it. And these people have called them on it. Enough already. Listen to Occupy Wall Street. You know what they're saying? No one went to jail after the trillions were taken from the taxpayers. In their campaign, you don't matter, the big checks do. In my campaign, I don't take big checks. You're everything.
Hey, with us now, former Republican governor from Louisiana and presidential candidate Buddy Roemer. Buddy, you're shaking things up with that commercial. Are you embracing Occupy Wall Street?
I do. I embrace its spirit and its smell.
Its smell. What does Occupy Wall Street smell like?
It smells like a rough crowd. Lots of young people. I was there once myself. I'm 68. I have faint memories. I remember the civil rights marches that I was in the Deep South. I remember the anti-Vietnam War stuff that I participated in as a college student. I have memories. What Occupy Wall Street says to me is they get it. They get that somewhere between Wall Street and K Street, the system is corrupt. Here's why. A big check gets first in line. Everybody else is out of sight. This country is not fair at the top.
That's the bottom line. I couldn't agree with you more. What is the response? I mean, you were down there a few times?
I have. I was the first guy to go down there.
First guy to go down there?
Yeah.
What was the response and what did you find?
Oh, they beat me up badly. I'm a Republican and a conservative by nature. But we had a good day. I listened. I didn't give a great speech. I didn't come to talk. I came to listen, and I liked what I heard. Their solutions are different than mine.
Sure.
They think we need more government. I think we need better government. Big difference.
And you're walking the walk on your message about getting big money out of politics. You won't take a donation to your campaign above $100. We know what that's done to a campaign. You just can't survive that way. But what would you like to see done about campaign finance reform specifically in this country?
Well, it must be constitutional, and the battle is 50 years old between liberals who want limits and conservatives like me who want full disclosure. Right now, we have neither. I would do the following 3 or 4 things. Number one, I would have a 48-hour reporting period. We live in an electronic world. Number 2, I would have full disclosure, no exceptions. Number 3, I would make PACs equal to individuals, whatever that limit is, $1,000, $2,500, not twice as much as it is now. Number 4, I think super PACs are illegal. Number 5, I would separate lobbyists from check giving. You can do one or the other if you're a registered lobbyist. You can bring an idea or you can bring a check. You can't do both. And finally, I would have criminal penalties in the law. I would make campaign reform the first issue in America. Our country's headed in the wrong direction, and it's done so deliberately by the biggest and the brightest because they have the power and control. Somebody once said, I think it was a Brit, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Washington, D.C. is corrupt. You know, I'm the only guy running for president who's been a congressman and a governor. I'm the only guy running for president who's built a billion-dollar bank with no bailouts and no help from this lousy, corrupt government. I saw bank reform last year, and I said, buddy, you owe it to your family and your future to stand up and say something. Bank reform. Too big to fail is still the law. Glass-Steagall is still defeated. No increase in capital ratios, and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac still exist. It's a disgrace.
We were talking about this earlier this morning. Why does too big to fail still exist? What's the reason? We had this crisis that shook us to our core, and yet it's still in place and bigger than it was
Let me
before.
give you a word. Money. Cash. You know who the biggest corporate giver from the financial world was 4 years ago? A little firm called Goldman Sachs. You know who the largest corporate giver in America is to politicians in Washington? General Electric. Have you seen their record? No one went to jail. GE made $5.4 billion last year and didn't pay one damn penny in federal income tax. You know why Occupy Wall Street is there? They can read and they can smell. Something stinks.
And it's usually John Heilman when he's reporting. John, your question.
Yes.
Don't take that, John.
Fair points. Governor, I want to ask you a political question. So as you pointed out just now, you're the only Republican candidate who's been both a governor and a member of the House of Representatives.
Right.
Gary Johnson, former governor of New Mexico, a very successful governor,
good man,
a real conservative.
Yeah.
The two of you have been non-entities in this race. Not largely. I think Gary Johnson was allowed in one debate. In two debates, you guys have not been.
I keep score.
You guys have not been allowed on the stage.
No.
You've been blocked out from media coverage. You're not really. You've been effectively silenced by the process. And now you are inside it. So tell it. How is it? How can it be that a former governor of New Mexico, a former governor and congressman from Louisiana, cannot get on a stage with some of these other figures who are, in many ways, I think, many people have regarded them as sort of laughable, some of these other figures. They are certainly have no more credibility than you guys do. Why is that? What have you learned about the impediments that have kept you out of the stage, and how do we stop that from happening again in the future?
I've decided it's part of the system. It's part of money first, entertainment, it's part of power grab. I mean, someone makes the rules. Here's what's happened to me. There have been 10 national debates. I've been on 0. Gary's been on 2. I'm 0 for 10. The rules keep changing. I started off, you had to be an official candidate. I wasn't. I became an official candidate. Then they said you had to have 1%. I didn't. Then I got 1%. They said you have 2%. I didn't. Then I got 2%. And here's what they said the last 2 debates. You had to raise $500,000 in the last 90 days. Now, why is that a rule? I have raised $256,000. No PACs, no super PACs. Average gift $40.55. Free to lead. And I can't get on a debate. Something's wrong in Denmark.
So is Mitt Romney the leader? You're saying that Washington is bought and paid for. Is Mitt Romney bought and paid for?
Absolutely. He's got 3 super PACs, and they're supposed to be independent. No coordination. His super PACs are run by a former campaign manager, a former business partner, and a former chief of staff. Is that separate and independent? He actually spoke at the fundraiser for his super PAC. That's no coordination. Rick Perry has 7. Every other Republican candidate, including Gary Johnson, by the way, when he made his first debate, he formed a super PAC the next day. It's a joke. You know who owns America? You don't. Your vote is unimportant, Joe. You don't even count. You know who owns America? A few at the top, and they got one thing in mind: no change. Look at Obama. All that hope and promise, no changes. He's running for re-election barely halfway through his term a year ago. And so what did he say? I'm going to raise $1 billion. Well, guess who the president's raising from? The very banks he's supposed to regulate. He went to Wall Street, had a fundraiser, $35,800 a ticket. And you know who the host was? Goldman friggin' Sachs.
Hey, you know what? So you remember last primary process?
Yes.
We made Mike Huckabee an honorary member of the round table.
I think we found our man.
I think we found our guy.
Yes.
How often do you get up to New York?
As seldom as possible.
All right. Well,
I'm in New Hampshire, man. I'm in New Hampshire, and I'm looking at Americans elect. They have shut me out of this debate. I'm a proud Republican, but I'm a prouder American, and I'm taking a serious look at Americans elect. 50 states, they're going to be on the ballot. I want on the national stage, and I'm going to ask Mr. Obama and Mr. Romney, where did you get your money?
Okay.
Who do you work for?
I think his voice needs to be heard, Mika.
I agree.
This is an unbelievably important message
I think
to get out to
many
America.
points that I completely
And it is
agree with, and
absurd
some I don't.
that both he and Gary Johnson have not been
I
able to
agree.
get more airtime. They are both totally credible public servants.
Well, you're just saying that about Gary Johnson because you want pot legal.
Well, that's partly true, but nonetheless, a very successful governor of New Mexico. How can these people?
He was
These
successful.
are serious politicians
He's a
who
good
have
guy.
serious records of public service, and they can't get on the stage.
Seriously, that's a message.
It's ridiculous.
That's a message that 80% of America wants to hear right there.
They're going to get to hear it, Joe.
Former Governor Buddy Roemer.
Wait, can I ask him a question?
You may.
What are you going to do on January 10th after Alabama plays LSU. What do you
celebrate?
Oh,
Man.
whatever.
Celebrate. How about them Tigers?
I set you up on that one.
I'm hurting myself in 49 states. I know, but I can't help. I didn't go to LSU, but I bleed purple and gold.
They're a great team, aren't they? They in Alabama. That's going to be a heck of
something
a
I never said in Louisiana. I went to Harvard undergraduate economics and to Harvard Business School banking. I never mentioned that in Louisiana.
Definitely don't.
You're a smart man.
Thank you very much.